Very dramatic moment, of course, at Shea back in September in 2001. John Franco, part of that, one of the old-time great Nets. Must have been a million interviews I've done with John. This will be a special one here. 9/11, of course, forthcoming. John will be at Firehouses with Todd Zeal. Pre-game ceremony will be Monday at Citi Field. He'll be there, too. This is a true-bred New Yorker, one of the great relievers we've had in the sport in a long time. And he says hello. John, nice to chat. Good to talk to you again. How are you, okay?
Okay, Chris, how are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Oh, always a pleasure. You know, John, I did not realize that the home run just swallows up everything. I did not realize that you actually gave up a run in the top of the 8th inning in this famous game against the Braves. I think the whole world has forgotten about that. So Piazza bailed everybody out. Let me hear your thoughts. Go ahead.
I spit the hook that game, that's for sure. Abando Benitez came in after me, gave up a hit. That was my run that scored. So Mike did us all a favor. So I spit the hook that game for sure.
Now, when Piazza hit that ball, obviously the walk against Corse, people forget about that. A lot of walks before big home runs. Obviously, Davis had one before, they had a couple walks. Dodgers had a couple before Eckersley and before Gooden, and a walk here before he hit the bomb of Corse. What were you thinking bottom of the 8th inning when Mike got up there, John? Take me back.
I was thinking, I hope Mike gets a hold of one. This would be great, not just for me, because I would have got the loss, but great for the city. I mean, what we went through at 9/11, especially down here in downtown, for Mike to come up in that situation, to hit a home run in that moment, it just uplifted the whole stadium. Because during that game, the stadium was all quiet and so on and so forth. But as soon as Mike hit that home run, you turn around and you look in the crowd and you would see people laughing, cheering, crying, yelling USA. He uplifted the whole the stadium. And maybe the city just for a little bit, because put a little Band-Aid on a big wound. So he did a great job there for us, that's for sure.
And because of timing and schedules and everything else, the Mets, Valentine, John, of course, as we just discussed, you really were the heartbeat and the heartbeat in New York there in that period, John. The Mets more so than the Yankees, based on schedule, which much more involved. At least it appeared that way from a recovery standpoint. Thoughts with that for a sec? Let me hear.
Well, they were using the Shea Stadium as a recovery station. They were bringing all the supplies there. So right before our workouts, we would go out to unload trucks and reload trucks to bring everything down to ground zeros, all the way from boots to batteries to flashlights, whatever they needed. It was a whole team effort led by Bobby Valentine. Obviously, Fred Wilpon was great. And my teammates were great. Not one guy said no to anything. We went every day before we could start playing. We worked out. We tracked the trailers, and then whatever we can do, we went down to ground zero. We visited ground zero. We had no cameras with us. We had nobody with us. We just wanted to go and thank the rescue workers for what they were doing and try to put a smile on their face. And we put a little smile on their face while we were down there.
You sure did. And your father's connection here important, too, with the undershirts and everything else, John. How about that for a sec? Let me hear.
Well, my father was a city worker at the sanitation department for 19 years. Unfortunately, he had 6 months to go on his job, and he had a fatal heart attack and died. So I always wore his shirt underneath my uniform in memory of him. But he was a blue-collar guy, a city worker. I have a lot of friends. I have 3, 4 cousins who were firemen, an uncle who was a fireman. One of my son's baseball coaches we lost in the World Trade Center. A friend of mine that I played football with, we lost, who was a fireman in the Trade Center. We lost 343 firemen that day, but we lost over 2,000 lives. The people who just went to work every day to put food and bread on the table for their families, and they went to work and they never came back, unfortunately.
Yeah, listen, on a career that you had, of course, you are a New Yorker through and through, one of the great lefty relievers. I had forgotten that Koufax taught you the changeup. Give me some thoughts on that. Go ahead.
Well, I was in the Dodger system when I got drafted by the Dodgers. I was in the Dodger system, and I was in instructional league. And Sandy was one of our pitching instructors, along with Dave Wallace and Larry Sherry. And they taught me the circle change. down in instructional league. And I remember the first time they showed me, and to throw it, I threw it almost over the backstop because it was so uncomfortable and it didn't feel right. And Sandy and Dave Wallace really convinced me to stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. And thank God I did, because that pitch got me to the big leagues for sure.
It sure did, and what a career that you had. You played in Cincinnati, then, of course, the trade. And you were a big reliever there with the Reds. Were you excited? Were you thrilled when they traded you to the Mets? How about that for a sec? Early 90s.
Yeah, I was excited. You know, that winter, the Reds had called me and asked me if I was looking for a 3-year contract and what were my numbers. And I said, I really don't know right now. And then they had called me later on, and they said that Lou Piniella wanted to meet me in a New Jersey mall out here in the city. And then a week later, there were talks about me going to the Yankees and being traded to the Yankees. And, I got the phone call from the Reds saying I'd been traded to New York. So I just thought it was the Yankees at the time. So I said, okay, thank you. And about 10 minutes later, Joe McIlvain called me, and that's when I knew it was the Mets. And I was just thrilled because I grew up a Met fan. Tug McGraw is one of my favorite guys. I'm sorry about that clip there, Mad Dog, of striking out Barry Bonds. I know that's one of your favorite guys.
I don't like that. That bothered the hell out of me. That was the famous game, folks, in game 2 of the NLCS against the Mets way back in 2000, where, in fact, the Giants tied it against Benitez on a DS when a home run by J.T. Snow tied the game against Benitez. And then, of course, the Mets got runs. And what does my little buddy do here, Mr. Franco? Leiter was great that night, but Mr. Franco goes in there and strikes Bonds out. And what'd you throw him, and what was he looking for in that situation?
Well, I have to tell you, all the years that Barry and I faced each other, we had the same agents. So we've known each other for a long time. He's never hit a home run off me, and he's always told me that when I hit a home run off you, I'm going to run around the bases backwards. And I used to mess with his mind so much, and I'd say, Barry, I don't know how I get you out. Sometimes you're the greatest player ever. I don't know how I get you out. And I could just see him gripping that bat like sawdust was coming off that bat. And that particular at bat there, I think I went 3-1 on him, and I threw a fastball, and he just missed it. He fouled it straight back. And I think if he would have hit it, it would have landed in Oakland. But Piazza, Mike kept calling fastball, and I kept shaking off. And the funny thing in that situation, I've never thrown Barry Bonds a changeup in my whole career, all the years that I faced him. It was either fastball, cut fastball, slider. For that particular reason why I said, you know what the heck? I got an open base. If I walk him, I walk him. And fortunate for me, I threw a good changeup. It didn't bounce in the dirt. Umpire called it a strike, and the rest was history. And then a day later, the next game, I think I faced Barry again. I think he was looking for the changeup, and I got him with a high fastball. So I got my joy out of that, because after I struck him out, I was thinking about Chris Russo, the Giant fan. That's for sure.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't, Mr. Franco. Well, you got a big weekend ahead of you, and you'll be very ceremonial here and very important. Always a pleasure, John. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Chris, thanks for having me, and thanks. Always good to see you.